Hello everyone, welcome to Engineer versus the FE exam. So this is the fundamentals of engineering, and this is part two where we go over the exam basics. So we covered the FE exam itself and why you want to do it. Let's cover what it is and what we need to do to prepare for it. So overall, it's 6 hours of total time. So this is an appointment time that you're going to make at a testing center. The exam itself is 5 hours and 20 minutes, and that's 5 hours and 20 minutes that we'll talk about how you go about preparing and walking through and making use of every minute that's there. There's a tutorial that takes 8 minutes. Pay attention to it. There's not really anything unexpected, but just in case you want to understand exactly what's going on with the system that you're going to be using. There is a break that is scheduled for 25 minutes also, so don't think that you're going to be sitting for a solid 6 hours. So the survey follows the exam, and that's where the last few minutes takes up. And that's basically to say, hey, what did you think of the exam? Do you like this format? Should we go back to the old one? That kind of thing. Now, a lot of the information I'm getting and a lot of more information that's different can come from the FE exam itself, from the exam site. What we're rolling through here today are the basics. So, more on the basics. Let's talk about the questions in the test itself. So, what we have here is 110 multiple choice questions, is what you'll be facing in 5 hours and 20 minutes. The choices that you're going to be having are A, B, C, D in ascending order. So, for an example, in a given day, two cats catch six rodents. How many rodents would each take home? You might see two, three, four. You see how these are in ascending order. This might be five, but hey, this answer says each cat takes what it caught. So you will have some trick questions or some trickier questions. Some of them are as obvious as they seem, others are not. The answer here is D. Cats don't tend to count or share. So use a little bit of logic when you're going through some of these questions as well. The logic applies to some of the questions, but it doesn't necessarily apply to the ethics questions or some of the other sort of what you might think of as easy subjects. So let's move through the time frame. We have, again, 110 multiple choice questions, 5 hours, 20 minutes. It's 320 hours divided by 110 questions. That's 2.9 minutes per question, which is about 174 seconds. Now, should you spend 2.9 minutes or about 3 minutes per question? No. The idea here is that you're going to be getting a lot of questions that are going to be really easy, and some of them are going to be questions that you can look up really quickly using the handbook, the NCSS handbook. Others are going to take more time, so they're going to take 5 minutes, and you will find questions that will stump you, and they will take you 10 minutes instead. Meanwhile, you're going to have to make up that time and use your time wisely everywhere else. And the key here to this exam, the FE exam, is time management. It's getting to all the problems at least once. This, I find, for engineers is the biggest hurdle. Why? Because engineers, they want to solve the problem and they want to get it exactly correct. The FE exam is not about that. It's about getting through the questions, understanding them, and getting the appropriate number correct. It's not about getting 100%. And in our daily jobs, that's what we're used to, especially for taking an exam at the college level. All right. Now there's 7 disciplines. They are chemical, civil, electrical and computer, environmental, industrial, mechanical, and other disciplines. I would highly suggest that you choose one that fits your mold. So if you're doing a lot of structures, you're probably going to want to go with civil. If you're doing a lot of electrical, of course, stay with electrical, even though you might not feel as comfortable with all of the computer section or vice versa. It's better oftentimes than taking the other disciplines. Why? The other disciplines section is longer and it tends to be more in depth and very broad. It makes it harder to study for. All right, so that's the basics on that. Chemical and so on, it's just going to be what it is. Be prepared and study what you intend to take. What can you use? So the FE reference handbook is what you're allowed to use. It's what's available at the site as well. So you can download the PDF of that, but don't get used to, say, searching it. You want to know where you're flipping to if you get the actual hard copy. So the computer, again, I mentioned pay attention to the tutorial. That's what you have there. The calculator, they still have the latest calculator policy that's up, but the pencils and papers are going to be provided for you. Essentially, they give you a bunch of paper. Even if you think you don't need it, take a thick stack and do one problem per page. And the reason is, even though it might take a little bit longer or a problem half a page, you want to be able to find the problem later. If you're working on it and you have an issue, you want to be able to come and find what you were using before. All right, what you can't use, all these things, all the things that you wouldn't expect to take into a closed book exam. So no books, no notes, none of that. No cell phones, laptops, tablets, anything electronic, forget it. The only thing that you're going to be able to use is the calculators. And then, of course, you can't use other people. There's no calling for a lifeline. There's no finding some teacher or anything like that. Don't anticipate doing any of this, or you will get kicked out, and it can be very detrimental for you ever getting invited back to taking the exam ever again. So be aware of all of that. The registration and the exam appointment. So it varies by your location. So you're probably going to need to go to an urban center of some sort. If you're in Kansas or wherever and you have to drive, you should plan on that. You should plan on getting there on time and make your appointment for it. Get there way early and study way early of how you're going to get there as well, so that you arrive on time and that you can start the test according to your appointment time. And then there's links via the ncws.org boards site, and you'll get an email that shows the approval that you're approved to take the test, and the that you'll schedule the appointment. Take that approval with you. It's important, okay? Just as your ID is important to bring. Now the exam openings are going to be every 2 months, and then they take a month off. So January, February, March is off. April, May, June is off. July, August, and again, we have September and December are off, and with October, November. So those are your windows. So you have 2 month windows. It's a lot more openings and availability than you used to have. It used to only be twice a year. So appreciate that and take advantage of it. The other advice I'll give here is if you are in school, take it before you leave school. In the midst of all your exams and everything else, you might be graduating in May or at the end of the year. Take it then in November, or take it in the May area, and just study a little bit before you go. Why? Because you're usually pretty caught up on doing all the tricks and such. You don't want your brain or any of your skills to rest too long before you come back to this exam. So if your classes end in June and you're thinking of taking it July, August, that might work for you. That might be fine. I would say that go ahead and schedule it and take it during that first exam opening that you possibly can, even though it might seem like a busy time. Kick it out and get it done. The cost, $225. You pay directly to NCWS when you register, and they take MasterCard, Visa, and American Express. So that's Engineer Versus, and that's the FE exam and some of the basics.